been out there sleeping, dreaming while the time goes by. Trouble in their lives, through the back door creeping, watch it multiply. What does it mean to you? Why must there be this separation? Where is this place we're going to? Time and again, a dream will shatter. Many people close the door, turning their back on the thing that matters. What are you living for? Who is it now, this generation? What does it mean to you? Why must there be this separation? Where is this place we're going to? Who is it now, this generation?
Hello, Teresa Willett here. On behalf of our local Access Television Channel 12, it is an honor and a privilege for me to invite you to join us each week for our program, God With Us, a faith-centered program which is intended to reach out to the homebound, those who are unable for one reason or another to get to church, and those who hunger for more faith enrichment in their lives. East Rochester's Channel 12 has invited the leaders of our East Rochester Association of Churches to participate in this sharing of God's Word on a rotating schedule. We are very fortunate in East Rochester to be a part of a community which enjoys both freedom of religious expression and which celebrates a diversity of beliefs. This program is a celebration of our faith in God with us in East Rochester. Indeed, we recognize that we are particularly fortunate to have an association of churches which collaborates so wonderfully throughout the year. Now, as representatives from our churches, bring a message of faith and hope into our homes. We give thanks to God, for truly we are blessed.
From the book of Genesis. The Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from the land of your kinsfolk and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you. All the communities of the earth shall find blessing in you." Abram went as the Lord directed him. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. From the second letter of St. Paul to Timothy. Beloved, bear your share of hardship for the gospel with the strength that comes from God. He saved us and called us to a holy life, not according to our works, but according to his own design, and the grace bestowed on us in Christ Jesus before time began, but now made manifest through the appearance of our Savior, Christ Jesus, who destroyed death and brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Rise, and do not be afraid. And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. And they were coming down from the mountain. Jesus charged them, Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
On this second Sunday of Lent, we hear the beautiful gospel of the Transfiguration of the Lord. And one of the great paintings of all time is Raphael's painting of the Transfiguration, which is in the Vatican Gallery in Rome. And in that painting, there are 3 levels. Above is Christ raised and transfigured, his divinity shining through his humanity. Immediately beneath our Lord, we see Peter, James, and John. They represent all people on their pilgrim way to God. And then on the lowest level, Raphael has painted in dark colors a group of disciples and a family surrounding a sick child. What is the artist trying to tell us? Possibly that one of the lessons of today's gospel is that Christ is the hope and the healer of all. Because in the painting, one of the disciples is gesturing, pointing toward the sick child, while another is emphatically pointing to the transfigured figure of Jesus. And so there we have, in a sense, in summary, what today's lesson for us can be. We need to take care of the sick, to hear the cry of the poor. But we must hear the cry and realize where it is that we want to direct those who need help. And ultimately that is to look at Christ, to behold Christ. The same Jesus who was on this altar was the same Jesus transfigured on Mount Tabor. The same Jesus who was born in Bethlehem. The same Jesus who was crucified on Good Friday. The same Lord and God is present to us here. Really. His true body, his true blood, soul and divinity of the Savior of the world. And so we look to Christ here at the Holy Mass. We look to him through the challenges of our life, whatever they may be. And we realize that in him is all our hope and all that we could ever desire. On March 25th, there's going to be what is called the Day of Penance throughout the Diocese of Rochester, and indeed throughout many dioceses across the country. It is a day that the bishops have designated be set aside for the sacrament of penance, confession. Confessions will be heard from from 12:30 to 7 p.m. on that day. And I hope that many will avail themselves of that opportunity, as we do have confessions every day before Mass from 7 to 7:30, and of course on Saturdays at the usual times. But why should we think about going to confession? We worry about what we're going to say. We worry about many things, revealing things that we wish we didn't have to. Why can't we just confess them directly to God? Why share them with another human? It's hard to do that. But as long as we focus on all that aspect of confession, we will find it difficult to cross the threshold of that confessional, because we're looking at the wrong part of the experience. What we've done wrong is not news to Jesus Christ. In fact, I would dare say there's not one of us in this church that has invented a new sin. But what we need to focus on is hearing the words, "And I absolve you from your sins." In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Who is it is speaking to us at that moment? You're hearing the voice of a priest, but it is Christ. It is Christ who has co-opted the voice of the priest, so that Jesus wants to say to you, wants you to hear those words, "I absolve you." Just like in the Mass, the priest says, "This is my body." It's not my body. I can't save you. I can't save myself. This is my body. Jesus co-opting the voice of the priest, sinner that priest may be, to make himself present for you and for me. Jesus died on the cross. Look what he did when that happened. First of all, he forgave those who were nailing him to the cross. So do you think he will not forgive you? He not only forgave those who nailed him to the cross, he made excuses for them. "Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing." Here's Jesus pleading with the Father to forgive these people for what they're doing to him, because he says they don't know what they're doing. So Jesus is trying to reach out to us. He's trying to embrace us. He's trying to draw us close. He wants to forgive us. And it's a grace to be able to do that. What is at the heart of confession? I think it's becoming forgiving people. We've all had the experience of maybe being offended, overlooked, not appreciated. Sometimes others may have made designs to do us actual harm. And when we find that out, it's very hard for us to forgive those people. But that's not the way God works. It's not the way Jesus works. He's inviting us to be like him. We're made in his image. He not only forgives, he forgets. How many times do we say, "Well, I can forgive you, but I'll never forget what you did." We want to hold on to that little thing. But Christ is inviting us to let go, to forget, to move forward, to focus on him. And we say, "Well, I can't do that." I know we can't do that. But we can ask God for the grace to help us do that. Dear God, give me the grace to forget. Give me the grace to forgive. I can't do it. I'm caught up in my human experience, and it's too much for me. That's all we have to do is say that. Ask God for the grace. And just confess, "I can't forget, Lord. Help me to forget. Give me the grace to forget by this confession." And that's the grace of the confession. It's a great help. It's an opportunity to meet the Lord. Don't deny yourself unnecessarily of that. We had first confession for the kids yesterday. I hope they will make a second confession. I know they will. But that's the great thing, that only parents can lead them to develop the habit of doing that. They're not going to do it on their own. It's hard enough for them to cross the threshold of confessional. And yet with their parents taking them by the hand leading them to that experience. It'll become part of their life to be a great help for them throughout their lives. So, something to consider today as we celebrate this transfiguration of the Lord, second Sunday of Lent. Remember how much the Lord forgives us, how much the Lord forgets our sins, how much the Lord even makes excuses to God the Father for all of us, saying, you know, they don't really realize what's going on here. Give them more time. Give them more time. So let's be thankful to God for all of that. God bless all of you. Thank you for your presence.
You know that we had a date. You leave me in the house to wait. You say you are coming back. You're going by the railroad track. But you stay out all night. Now you're sneaking back from the night. Agnes, I want to know, where did you go? You say what you say now. All night I set up waiting for you. All night I set up waiting for you. I took up a shandy and a whiskey, milk cake and a brandy. All night I set up waiting for you. She didn't expect me and a fire eat. She really get to see. She think I wanna vex and leave. Revenge is mine today. You can't get away. Last night was watchman time. Today is mine. This is what you say now. All night I set up waiting for you. All night I set up waiting for you. Took up a shandy and a whiskey, milk cake and a brandy. All night I set up waiting for you. She jumped on, she grabbed my neck, tighter than I expect. And while we were tumbling, she started mumbling, revenge me all you could. I never felt so good, grind she keep falling, leave me just sweet. So listen what you tell me now. All night I said I'm waiting for you. All night I said I'm waiting for you. I took up a shandy and a whiskey, milk egg and a brandy. All night I said I'm waiting for you.
Cerise was brushing along her gently down. It was the afternoon of carnival. She brushes it gently down. Reuben was playing the painted mandolin. Was it made with a pretty face and jade? With a carnival parade. Cerise was dressing as pirouette in white, with a fatal vision gripped her tight. Cerise, beware tonight. Reuben, Reuben, tell me truly true. I feel afraid and I don't know why I do. Is there another girl for you? But if you could see in my heart, you would know it's true. There's no Cerise except for you. Except for you. I swear to it all, my very soul. Behind me, I fall down cold. Reuben played on the painted mandolin. The breeze would pause to listen in before going its way again. Masquerade began when nightfall finally woke. Like waves against the bandstand, dancers broke to the painted mandolin. Well, looking out at the crowd who was standing there, sweet Ruby, Claire, and Reuben stared. Reuben stared. She was dressed in pirouetted red, and her hair hung gently down. The crowd pressed round. Ruby stood as alone. Reuben's song took on a different tone, and he played it just for her. The song that he played was the carnival parade. Each note caught a thread of Cerise's fate that cut through like a blade. Reuben was playing a painted mandolin when Ruby froze and turned to stone. All the strings played all alone. The voice of Cerise from the face of the mandolin. Sing Reuben, Reuben, tell me true. I have no one but you. But if you could see in my heart, you would know it's true. There's no Cerise except for you. Except for you. I swear to it all, my very soul. Finally I fall out cold. The truth of love and unsung song must tell. The course of love is further blind, without a look behind. Reuben walked the streets of New Orleans till dawn. Cerise so lightly in his arms, her hair hung gently down. Her hair hung gently down. Her hair hung gently down.
Thank you.
Take a look around you, inside yourself. Are you clinging to a vision of a better way of life? Fulfill your every desire, live a life with new vitality. I hope you're having fun. You can cry out company. Follow a dream, you can see where it goes. Maybe you'll come up to the right answer. Follow a dream, you can see where it goes. Maybe you'll come up to the right answer. Breathing easily, you can relax now. Forget about the problems that confront you through the day. No matter how wrong or right, there's always a better life to change and see in a new society. Follow a dream, you can see where it goes. Maybe you'll come up to the right answer. Follow a dream, you can see where it goes. Maybe you'll come up to the right answer.
I'm Ralph Morbido, and welcome to We're Talking Golf. Today we're at the Golden Bear Family Golf Center in Henrietta, New York, and with me is an East Rochester native, Fred Urzetta, the head teaching pro at the center. Fred, welcome to We're Talking Golf.
Thank you very much, Ralph.
Fred, it's quite a facility they have out here.
Oh, it certainly is. It's the operation has gone beyond anybody's expectations. It's been jammed every day. And the people love it because they can see where the ball is going. They can see curvature. And we had a gentleman who was rather skeptical once and didn't want to buy a pail. And Bill Palmer, our head man, gave him one to try it. And he came away and bought another one. And he was just pleased as punch.
Well, it's in the middle of the afternoon on a Friday afternoon, and it looks like all the stalls down in the main level are full, and they're upstairs as well.
It's been that way since 9 o'clock this morning.
Now, how is this compared to the one they had in Buffalo?
The idea is similar. What is different is we have a background that's blue that you can see the ball in flight. What was happening out there, the ball would get up. The netting was very close, and you couldn't really see all the flight. With the blue background and the net conforming to the curvature of the dome, it gives you a little more depth perception. You really think you're hitting a full tee shot.
Oh, you can. You watch it. You know whether you've hooked it or sliced it or whether you've sculled it. There's no question about that. Now, Fred, I know that you're here giving lessons, but you also walk around helping people who are hitting?
That's right. As if I can give somebody a tip and help their game a little bit and try to promote the place and encourage them to come when we have the outdoor facility going, this is what I'm hired for.
Now, you've had a lot of experience with golf. What are some of the common mistakes, let's say, or errors that the average golfer makes, do you think?
Certainly you start with holding the club and the grip, and there's a couple of easy shortcuts that you can take to take your grip right and then to get a proper setup. If you can do those two things, you've got half the battle won. The idea is that more bad shots are hit before you swing the club than you can shake a stick at.
Well, maybe you can show us a couple of tips here. Fred, you said some of the errors can be corrected before you hit the ball, and does that have to do with grip, stance, alignment?
Absolutely, Ralph. How many times people hit bad shots and they think that they've looked up or pulled up, and the reason possibly usually is the fact that they're standing improperly, too far from the ball, too close, placing the ball too far forward in their stance, too far back. And there's a couple of simple ways that you can check that and at least give yourself a fighting chance to make good contact.
Maybe you can show us then, Fred.
Oh, I'd be glad to. How many times have you thought, how do I know how far to stand from the ball, how close to get it, where I should play the ball in relation to my feet, where I should bend from? And this is a simple way that you can, or a guide that you can follow. Once you've taken your grip, if you can take your correct grip, place the club behind the ball, with the ball in the middle of your feet, move your left foot to the left, right foot to the right, and to check to see how close you are to the ball or how far you are from the ball. A very simple thing. For example, suppose I were to be reaching a lot, and I want to check and make sure that I can get in close enough to the ball. If you'll just take the club, fold your arms, and drop them down. And where the club lands is where the ball should be. So obviously here in this particular situation, I have to move in that far to make contact with the ball. So if you're standing too far from the ball, the tendency is to lift up, and this is what can cause a lot of topping where your knees stiffen and your weight will move forward. By the same token, if we take our grip and stance and we're standing a little too close to the ball, the way to gauge it, the same way, move your feet apart, fold your arms and drop the club. And where the club lands is where the ball should be. You would have to move back that far. Now, as far as your posture, how many times have we heard bend the knees? You do not bend the knees in the swing, you unlock them. The bending in the swing is done from the waist. So if you were to take the club and you were just to hold the club straight out with your knees straight, bend your knees, unlock them, and just lower the club from the waist. That'll give you your correct posture, and also where that club lands is where the ball should be. A good thought would be that you're just about to make the first move if you're sitting back in a chair. And then just lower the club. Where the club lands is where the ball should be, and now you're ready to make your swing and give yourself the best chance to make contact with the ball. That's something that I'm sure that everybody can benefit from.
It looks easy when you explain it. Certainly there's no substitute if someone's interested in golf is to sign up with a PGA professional to get some of those tips.
Find somebody you have confidence in that has a fairly good reputation and just stay with a couple.
There's a lot of magazines out to tell you what to do and to understand that.
There's nothing wrong with the magazines if that problem is applicable to you. Mm-hmm. If you're a slicer and they've got somebody there teaching how to fade the ball, I'm sure you're not going to get too much out of that.
I'll tell you, this is some indication of the interest in golf in Monroe County and that area, isn't it?
Oh, unbelievable. The gentlemen that were here from Syracuse, and they were familiar with the one from Buffalo, and they just can't believe how the Rochester area is so much more enthusiastic.
Now, the Golden Bear Golf Center, there are a number of them around? There's just so many?
18 of them. I think the projection is for 50 of them, and they're starting to go out into the coast and in Georgia, and they're going all over the place. They're here to stay.
I'm sure. It's quite a nice facility. Well, Fred, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for having me.
If anyone's looking for you, they can find me
right here at the Golden Bear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice view here from the second tier at the Golden Bear level at the Golden Bear Family Golf Center, and you can see it is a family golf center with his father getting his son introduced to the game at an early age. Never too young to get involved. And on the second tier, it looks like that ball's airborne, and he's had a nice shot. The view here with the flags and the traps really gives you an idea of what the golf season will be like that everyone's looking forward to in the next month and a half or so. Around this time of the year, people get anxious to get out and hit some shots, and no better place than the Golden Bear Family Center here in Henrietta. Obviously, it's no secret any longer. Many people enjoying the game. Mike, that wasn't your best. Hi.
Sure.
Welcome to We're Talking Golf.
Thank you.
Is this your first time here?
Yes, it is.
What do you think of the facility?
From what I noticed, it's real good.
Have you seen any other domes? Have you been to any other ones, one in Buffalo or Syracuse?
No, I haven't. No, I've heard a lot about them. This is the first trip I've made out here. It looks very good.
Now, you've hit a few balls. You get some idea which direction they're going, don't you?
That's what I like about it. I could tell already, like I was saying earlier, that you can tell the flight of your ball. Right, exactly.
Even though it's only 80 yards from tee to the end of the dome, you really get an idea how you hit it.
Yes, definitely. That's what I like, especially if you're going to come out and practice. You get an idea what direction you're going in, what to hit, how you're hitting it.
You're playing hooky from work, sneaking out here on Friday afternoon?
Yes, I am on Fridays, yes. Normally my day off anyway, but of course I can't play out here yet, so I thought I'd come out and hit some balls.
Now, where are you playing out, Mike?
Center Point Country Club.
And how long have you been out there?
About 26 years.
Ever watch TV 12?
Yes, I have. Enjoy it very much. Yes, do a good job.
Well, after you've been practicing here, the boys at Center Point will be wanting some strokes.
Yes, they will. I know it. Maybe you better not put it on.
Enjoy yourself, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, because I spoke to Steve the other day when he... Oh, spoken here,
No, we just drinking it. With me is Bill Palmer, the site manager. Bill, when was this construction started?
We actually started clearing the site about in mid-October. Construction started around the 1st of November. We completed the construction around the 20th, and we opened on the 27th of January.
Well, when you drive in off Calkins Road or Highland Drive, you still see a lot of piles of dirt and equipment. Is there still working on that?
Oh yes, there'll be extensive groundwork done as soon as the weather clears. There'll be turf laid. We're going to plant on the berms out there grass and trees. It'll be a real park setting.
And you're going to have an outdoor driving range?
That's correct. We'll have approximately 30 matted concrete tees, plus an area equivalent to 20 grass tees to hit off from.
Well, this is the second time I've been here, and my first thought is, does anyone work in the Rochester area? I've never seen so much activity. And another remarkable thing, we came in off the main road. It's gravel, and there's still a lot of cars. People have no trouble finding the place.
Absolutely not. We field a lot of calls on a daily basis, people asking where we are, and we're more than glad to tell them.
I'm sure. It looks like it's very successful. What are some of the dimensions of the dome? This is the first one in the Rochester area, obviously.
That's correct. We are the first. From the back wall to the front wall is approximately 100 yards. It's 260 yards wide. It's 70 feet to the peak from the ground.
I see no one's disturbed with going up on that second tier. That gets a lot of play.
Well, it gets a lot of play because a lot of times we're filled on the first tier. It gives you a totally different perspective of hitting the golf ball.
And the blue background really helps.
Oh, absolutely. You can see the ball flight pattern in the first 80 to 100 yards.
Well, it's very easy. I mean, if anyone had any question about that, you know whether you've sliced it or hooked it or you've hit it straight. There's no problem with that.
That's correct.
And it's interesting that people are obviously anxious, waiting for spring out here hitting golf balls. Are you surprised at the interest?
Not surprised. We knew that there would be a great deal of interest in the dome, obviously with the weather conditions here, but maybe a little overwhelmed at the amount of people that have shown up so quickly.
Well, surprised, maybe not the right word. Pleased would be a better word.
I agree.
Now, you haven't finished some of the indoor construction yet. What are you still working on?
We still have a restaurant to finish. We're probably about a month away from having a restaurant. The pro shop is not completely stocked. We're getting things on a daily basis, so we should have a complete operation inside within another month.
Golf lessons are available from Fred or Zeta, and do you have any else on the staff?
Presently, we have Joe Morabito, who doubles in the pro shop. He's available to give lessons also.
Well, it looks like you've got a very successful operation here, Bill. I don't know what else we can say. I guess just looking at the people, and another thing we noticed too, are a lot of children here. Of course, kids are off, but it's really wonderful that parents bring their children out.
Absolutely, and we're going to get more involved come spring in junior golf, have clinics for them with Freddie and other teachers that we plan on hiring.
Well, you have a fine facility here, and it's being used. What are the hours here?
We're open Sunday through Thursday night from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Friday night and Saturday we stay open until 11 p.m.
Well, I'm sure a lot of golfers will be out here trying the new dome, and look forward to seeing them later in the season.
Well, we certainly do, and we hope to have a full operation by Memorial Day outside.
Very well. It seems like it's a facility that was needed in the Rochester area, and people are taking advantage of it.
I believe so.
Well, thank you for joining me, Bill.
Thank you.
to be. 'Cause every day the bucket is going to the well. One day the bottom is gonna drop out. But I tell you, one day the bottom the dropouts. I shot the sheriff and you know deputy. I shot the sheriff. I shot the sheriff. I shot the Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Alfieri, Mayor of the Town Village of East Rochester.
When you were just a young girl, before you knew the meaning of love, I took your hand and promised you paradise. Naive, you fell right into my plans. Seems I knew just what to tell you. I knew just what to do. You believed the things I said to you. Too bad they were not true. When you asked about forever, I said day like day by day. Then you asked me if I love you. These words you heard me say. I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I'll get back to you. When it feels right, I'll get back to you. So many years have come and gone since we said our last goodbyes. I called you on the telephone. I want to give that one more try. The warning signs are in your eyes. There's danger in the air. How could I keep you holding on when I never really cared? So you're gonna think it over. Just need a little time. I guess I had it coming when you gave me your reply. I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I'll get back to you. When it feels right, I'll get back to you. right, I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I'll get back to you. When it feels right, I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I'll get back to you. When it feels right.
Good evening. I'm John L. Ferry, Mayor of the Town Village of East Rochester. And I want to take a moment to continue to provide our residents and business owners with updates on what East Rochester is doing to assist at this time of growing uncertainty. As we stated last week, we have been actively participating with County Executive Adam Bello and his team, which includes the Monroe County Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Michael Mendoza, on all municipal conference calls. This will continue daily as needed. As a matter of fact, we had one today. First, let me say thank you. I'm happy to report that as a community, East Rochester has truly listened and followed the guidelines received from federal, state, and county government leaders, and for that we are grateful. To be transparent, I did declare a state of emergency on March 17th, 2020. We'd like to remind everyone that all previous executive orders went into effect last Monday, as well as some new ones. I'd like to share those with you. The East Rochester Public Library, the Jean Daniel Senior Center, Youth Activity Center, Town Court, Office of Local History, and Mobile DMV are all closed until further notice. The Iyer Building is also closed to the general public. Public access to the Department of Public Works grounds and garage is also prohibited until further notice. The Community Resource Center, located at 333 East Chestnut Street, has expanded their hours. They will be open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and will be available after hours by appointment only. Also, the public restrooms in Edmund Lyon and Iyer Park have also been officially closed. This is to protect the community as well as our town village DPW staff. The East Rochester Police Department will remain open, and for those in need of police assistance, please call 911 or their business line, which is 586-4399. Effective today, Governor Cuomo has issued executive orders to direct all New York residents to take a 100% pause. And what does this mean for you? The governor's order is 100% of non-essential employees must stay home until further notice. This is done to flatten the curve and slow down the spread of the virus. More information is available on New York State's website. We want to protect our residents and our staff, so we have taken measures to provide that services will remain uninterrupted. The police department, the fire department, and the public works department are all working, but all of their facilities have been closed to public access. We have also divided our DPW into 2 teams, and they are working on a rotating basis. One team will work one week, and one team will work the next. This will allow us to provide public sanitation needs, garbage, and recycling without interruption. Due to this, the April 2020 scheduled bulk week, which was scheduled for April 13th till 17th, is canceled. There will be another bulk week scheduled for May. These changes continue to be out of an abundance for caution for our families, businesses, and visitors. Please restrict your travel for food, gas, and medicine, and use social distancing whenever possible. Please keep children occupied and out of public places without adult supervision. We are evaluating the situation on a day-to-day basis, and plans continue to be subject to change at a moment's notice. As I reported last week, the only place that updates will be posted is www.eastrochester.org. Please also watch local news for updates as they become available. To flatten the curve and to slow down the spread of this virus, we're encouraging all residents to stay at home. Thank you, and God bless you.
Nothing is greater than Fairport. Living is sweeter in Fairport. That's where I want to call home, 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 home. Fairport, the grass has grown greener in Fairport. We're happy to see you in Fairport. Let's take a look around.
Hi, this is Mary Beth Mueller with the Sweeter Side of Fairport. We're here today at Main Street Mercantile, and we're going to be talking to Jeff Keim all about this lovely place. Jeff, tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, we are a co-op, a gift shop and co-op right here on Main Street in Fairport. We're at 62 North Main. We're right next to the railroad track. And if we film long enough, we'll probably hear a train go by. They go by quite frequently. We're a collection of about 20 different vendors who throughout the store sell different crafts and antiques and all kinds of different gifts and home decor items.
Very nice. And can you tell me a little bit about how long you've been here? How long has the business been here? And what this building might have been before, if you know?
Absolutely. We've been here as a store for about 12 years. The previous owner owned the store for the first 10 years. And then at the beginning of 2016, she was ready to retire and she moved to Pennsylvania. So my wife and I and our business partner, Deborah, took over ownership. So we're just about finishing our second year as owners of the Mercantile. The building itself has a long history.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you know?
Sure. The original building was built in the middle of the 1800s. And it was originally called the Monroe County Chemical Company. Oh. And they made baking soda, baking powder, other spices and things like that. And actually, R.T. French from French's Mustard was one of the partners at the time. They didn't make mustard here. They didn't start making mustard until they moved into Rochester. But it was Monroe County Chemical Company. And then at one point it became it was an antique store. The people who have lived in Fairport for years probably remember the Apton family, and it was Apton's Antiques. And the family lived here, and it was 3 stories.
And is it still 3 stories?
Well, when the Aptons lived here, the 3rd floor was actually, people come in and tell us, people who know the Apton family or who went to school with one of the kids, and they tell us about the 3rd floor was actually a basketball court.
Real? Oh, that would be so awesome. Can you imagine in the middle of a snowstorm? Okay, kids, go upstairs and play basketball. I'll see you when the lights come on.
And so we've actually had customers come in and say how they used to play basketball upstairs.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Then in the late 70s, early 80s, the building had a fire and the 3rd floor burned down.
Oh.
So, and I think it was probably around that time that the Aptons closed up their business. It was a few other things in between. I know at one point it was a florist. I think it was a game shop one time for a little while. And then prior to us being here, it was an antique shop called Rainy Day Mercantile.
Okay.
That Lorraine Francis, a woman who lived in Fairport for years, she ran it as an antique co-op. And I'm not sure how many years she was here, but she was here for many years. And then she moved to Maine, and we opened Main Street Mercantile.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really so cool. So it's been here for a while, and you have so many cool things that we're going to have to look at. You're going to have to tell us a little bit about each one of them.
Okay.
So here we are in the front room, and Jeff, you're going to tell us a little bit about this front room and the types of things that you sell and your vendors, or which type of vendors are in this room.
Okay. This is the main room. When you first come into the Mercantile, this is what you'll see. And of course, at this time of year, we have it pretty much set up for the holidays and anything that you would need for holiday decorating. We've got all of our greenery, different holiday decorations for inside your house. We sell all kinds of lights, both for inside and outside your house. Any kind of table decorations, any kind of greenery, and also artwork for your walls. We sell a lot of Billy Jacobs artwork. He's an artist that we feature here at the Mercantile, and his artwork is very, very popular. So really, anything that you would need for decorating your house and getting it ready for the holidays.
So here we are. We're in the next room. There's so many rooms here. And this room also looks like it's filled with holiday type items. And I see you have a photographer in here and a lot of different type of vendors. So tell us a little bit more about this room. Every time I come in the store, it looks different.
Well, that's one of the nice things about it being a co-op is that, like I said, we have about 20 different vendors. And so every time someone does come in, chances are you're going to see new merchandise and something different. So this is one of our vendor areas here. This is a person who specializes in country decor, primitives, some holiday gifts and items, some decorating things. Her blocks are very popular with sayings on them, and she also has artwork and lanterns.
So now we've moved into yet another room, which is beautiful. Oh my gosh, every time I look at this stuff, it makes me really want to start getting ready for the holidays. And I love the tea towels and what all their sayings on them. They're really cute and awesome. So, Jeff, do you want to tell us a little bit about this room and the vendors in this room too?
Sure. We call this our textile room. And this is where you'll find all of the dish towels and washcloths and table runners and placemats and our dishware, along with, more holiday decorating things. We have gifts, coffee mugs, place settings, those kind of things. And then that leads into we call it our Fairport room, which is the front part of this part of the store. And we have women's clothing, we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, a lot of items that say Erie Canal or Fairport on them. If you're looking for Fairport artwork, Fairport cards, magnets, keychains, hats, anything like that. We do get a huge number of visitors in the summer, travelers who travel on the Erie Canal, and they stop in and they want to pick up a souvenir, something that says either Fairport or the Erie Canal on it. We also in Fairport get a lot of students who are traveling from other countries, or our students from Fairport who are going over to other countries as part of an exchange program. And so they'll come in and they'll pick up something that represents Fairport that they can take with them.
I really like that idea. And that just, right when you said that, I thought of the trip to Germany. When the kids went to Germany, this is a perfect place to pick up a gift to send over to the families, the host families. Very nice. And it says Fairport and Erie Canal Shop. Is that what it means? Like, that's what you're selling over here, Erie Canal and Fairport stuff?
Absolutely. And that's actually a sign left over from when the store was Rainy Day Mercantile. That's Lorraine Francis's sign. She left it with us, and it was a beautiful sign, so we hung it up. And yes, that sort of shows that part of the room is where all the Fairport and the Erie Canal souvenirs are.
I like to see that you know how to recycle and reuse. So here we are in another portion of the store where all the flags are ready for the holidays. And what I also noticed was down here you have stuff to refinish furniture. And I've bought that before. It works like a charm. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about this section too, Jeff.
Sure. This is one of our vendor areas, and she specializes in a few different things. She has all the flags, garden flags and full-size flags. She has other yard signs that you can put in your yard or attach to your house, and then you can change it depending on the season. She has candles, beautiful candles. They're a soy candle and that burns very clean. And then she does have her refinishing products. She has a full line of Howards. And if you're anyone who's done any kind of refinishing work with wood, you've probably heard of Howard's products before for staining and refinishing the wood, brightening it up. She also has a leather refinisher for making leather not so dry. So she has a nice arrangement of items in her space.
So now we've moved over to a new booth where they sell all these beautiful holiday wreaths with glowing candles in them, salsa, a whole bunch of different Andes candies. I just look around and there's so much to see. I can't even say everything in here, but Jeff, maybe you can help me out.
Well, this is Sharon's booth, and Sharon is a lovely woman who's been in the business for many, many years, and she makes wreaths. She has all of the homemade salsas and jams and mustards that are all delicious, and then she carries a line of Andes candies as well. She specializes more in inspirational items. At Christmas time, she'll have lots of angels and just inspirational gifts for the holidays. She does a beautiful job.
So here we are in the Red Raider room, I call it, because it has everything Fairport, and I get the license plate things that says Fairport Red Raiders. Everybody says, where'd you get them? Main Street Mercantile's where you pick them up if you're a big fan of all the Fairport athletics or even the school district. And there's a lot of gifts in here too. There's sweatshirts, there's bags, ornaments, a whole bunch of different cool things if you want to buy something from Parrington, New York, or something that says Fairport, New York. Great gifts for kids, great gifts for family that's coming to visit.
Once a Raider, always a Raider. And this is our other Fairport room filled with Fairport Red. So we get a lot of students that shop in this area, but we also get a lot of alumni who stop back in and want a red sweatshirt that says Fairport. We even get people who call up on the phone and ask us if we'll mail them a sweatshirt. So we do that as well. Very nice. For alumni and other Fairport people who've moved to other places. So this is our Fairport Red room.
So here we are. This looks more manly than the rest of the store. Can you tell us a little bit about this section, Jeff?
Sure. Well, this is probably our newest area in the store, and we found that we were getting more and more men coming in as shoppers, and of course, we have a lot of women who buy things for men. So we thought we should have a men's area. So we started this area probably a few months back, and we have all kinds of items from men's grooming products to novelty things like the sticky notes. We have pens, special pens with sayings. We have the box signs. We have artwork. These are beer cozies for the holidays. Little beer cozies, hockey puck ornaments, anything for the guy in your life, whether he's a fisherman, whether he is a golfer, a hunter, whatever he likes to do. Hopefully we have it here.
Yeah, and my husband's a golfer, and I see if you believe my golf score, let me tell you about the fish I caught. Maybe he'd enjoy that. Maybe not so much. I'm not sure. So here we are in another little section of the store, and I really love that owl. It reminds me of bright orange, reminds me of the 1970s. It's a planter, but this is your little garden supply section and fairy garden. Can you tell us a little bit about this vendor?
Sure. This is another one of our vendor spaces. Lori is our fairy garden specialist, and she sells anything that you would need if you want to start a fairy garden. Now, if you don't know what a fairy garden is, it's just a small little garden. It can be inside your house, or some people do them outside, and they're done with all miniatures, little miniature fairies, little miniature houses. Lori changes up her product depending on the season. She has things for fall fairy gardens, and she has things for Christmas fairy gardens too. So it's something that you can have in your house as a living thing, and then you can change it up as the seasons go.
And at one point, I know she was selling wrapping paper with birdseed in it so that you could throw out the paper and then it would, you could have, it had flowers that you could put in your garden, seeds in it. Mm-hmm. So that was very cool. I hope that there's more of that around too, because people really love that type of thing, myself included. So this is a little area where there are adorable little bird houses. What a great gift. And stepping stones I see, lots of little plants. Now, does she collaborate with Lori to get up with the plants in here, or is that her own?
This is her own area. This is actually a vendor who is her full-time job is she's a science teacher in Rush Henrietta, and she studied geology at Geneseo, and so she's very serious about rocks. She loves her rocks. She actually has specific streams and different bodies of water that she goes to collect the certain types of rocks, and then she uses them to make pots for, planted plants or bird houses. One of the new items that she has for Christmas that I think is kind of really neat is she took different beakers like this and made it into a faux succulent like terrarium, and then she attached onto each one a little write-up about a famous female scientist. So if you have a budding scientist in your family, this might be a nice little gift for them for the holidays.
And I like the fact that she put women scientists on there too. So that is wonderful, and I really appreciate her thinking about that, because that's something that most people don't know who the women scientists are in our society. So here we are in another section, and this section looks like a local artist. And because I see a lot of Genesee Brewery pictures and pictures from around Rochester that are absolutely gorgeous. So Jeff, can you tell us, and look at these tins here with the faces on them. Jeff, tell us a little bit about this section.
This is actually two different local artists. We have our photographer, Carly Evans, and she lives right here in Fairport, and she goes around Rochester and does her photography, and then has that made into coasters and candles and beer mugs, and she makes the posters. She has the posters printed. Her work is very, very popular. Again, especially we find at this time of year, people come in and they want to buy something maybe for somebody who used to live in the Rochester area, but now they've moved someplace else. So she has all kinds of beautiful, beautiful photography. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, is another local artist. She lives in Webster, and she collects the vintage tins. So she starts with a vintage tin and then creates the head and the arms and the legs, and to create these characters, these snowmen and Santas and reindeer. She just joined us. Her business is called Rin Tin Vintage, and she does a beautiful job with her characters.
They really are awesome. I really enjoy looking at them. The faces are just adorable. So now we're in the back of the store. I hear a train. Like we said, there'll be a train if we're here long enough. So Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about the vendors in the back of the store and the things that they sell and where they're from, and a little bit about them.
Sure. This is actually three unique areas. We have Bev, who specializes in the baby area, so any kind of gifts for newborns or a little toy or a rattle for newborns. Then next to Bev is Diane's space, and she has things for kids that are a little bit older. her train cars. She has a line of T-shirts and sweatshirts. And one of her newer items are the pillowcases that are just really neat. They are pillowcases that you can paint with, the paint is permanent, and then you wash it. And it's just a nice project you can do with a child, and then they have it that they can use as their pillowcase. And then also in this area is Stacy's area, and she has a full line of homemade soaps and body scrubs and bath bombs that she makes. She makes all of those products in her home.
So, Jeff, we are so far back in the store now, but it's really beautiful. I love all the colors back here. Can you tell us a little bit about who has these booths and where they're from and what they do?
Absolutely. This first space is Elaine's, and she does all kinds of antiques and collectibles. She sort of specializes in the color red. If you look through her booth, you'll see that your eye will be drawn to, for sure, something that's red. She has been a vendor at the Mercantile for the whole 12 years that we've been here. So she is a longtime vendor. Does very well, sells really, really unique, one-of-a-kind pieces, whether it's an antique or a collectible. And then in this corner is Susan, and she travels from all the way from Penn Yan, out in Penn Yan, to be here at the Mercantile. And she has just a beautiful, beautiful line of gifts and home decor items.
So this store keeps going on, and then we're all the way back here looking at all this beautiful work. And Jeff, tell us a little bit about these vendors and some of the work that they've done and what's so popular about. I know some of these dish towels, I've seen those around, so I know they're pretty popular.
This is our last area of the store, and this first booth is our vendor is Mary, and she is another vendor who's been with us for 12 years since we've opened, and she does placemats and runners and the pot holder towels and the dress towels as well. The dress towels you can sort of attach to the front of your stove and have a dish towel that hangs there. She also has a line of dog treats and dog dishes and that kind of stuff. And then in this other area, there's actually 5 vendors just in this one area. So if you're a vendor at the Mercantile, actually you can rent a very, very small space depending on what you're doing, or if you're somebody that's just getting into business and you want to just try something, you don't have to rent, a huge space and have to, fill a huge space. We have Deborah, who makes these tote bags. That's her area. We have another Deborah who is doing antiques and collectibles in that space. We have Linda, who just joined us at the Mercantile, and she does pressed flowers and painted eggs. Carly does handmade jewelry and painted scarves and painted dresses. And then Audrey is over here to the far left, and she uses all recycled material, and she crochets with it and makes bowls and wreaths and bows for packages and anything she can think of. She wraps cord with it and wraps it around vases. So anything to use recycled material rather than throwing out the scraps after making a quilt. So we have a huge assortment here of items at the Mercantile. And so when you come in, some people spend an hour or so just looking around, and they still, when they come up to the counter, they say, I didn't see everything because there's so many things to see at the Mercantile.
Yes, and I know, and you also have a room that we're not going to go into, but it's your clearance section too, and that's another place that people
love the clearance room.
Right, they spend a lot of time in there too.
You've got a good clearance room, they tell us.
Very nice. So, Jeff, it's been awesome coming here today. It was a lot of fun. And I want to know, like, this is your business that you have in our community, but are there other things that you do for our community, your business?
Well, we belong to the Fairport Parrington Merchants Association, and that's the organization that is it's a collection of businesses throughout Fairport and Parrington and Bushnell's Basin. And some of the things they sponsor are the Canal Days, the Scarecrow Festival, the when Santa Claus comes to town on December 2nd up at the gazebo, and the whole come home to Fairport for the holidays. And then the money that's collected from those different events goes for different beautification projects.
Such as?
Well, like it pays for the. One example is the hanging baskets.
Oh, really?
The hanging baskets that are along Main Street.
We interviewed them already.
And so that's one of the things they do. And then they also sponsor different public art and just, beautifying, Fairport and making it just keeping it a wonderful community.
It really is a wonderful community. So, besides that, you have this co-op, and you said people can come in, and now they work some days when they're here, or how does that work?
Well, if a person wants to become a vendor, you would rent space, and your rent is based on the size of your space. So the bigger space, obviously, the bigger the rent. And then you also have a certain number of shifts that you have to work each month. Okay. But the commitment is minimal. It's, right. 3 or 4 shifts, and a shift is 3.5 hours. So we're not talking, it being anywhere near like a full-time job. It's a couple of days. It's a couple of days a month you have to work, and then you stop in and keep your booth stocked, and we give you a check every 2 weeks for whatever has sold from your booth.
I love it. It's so great. Well, this is a great asset in our community. It's right here on Main Street. Stop by, visit. So Small Business Saturday is coming out. And tell us a little bit about Small Business Saturday.
Well, Small Business Saturday was something that was created a few years ago, actually by American Express. And it was to get people to focus on shopping at their local stores in their local villages. And it has turned into... for us, it's a wonderful day. It's a great day to come in and show your support and shop local.
That's great. And Jeff, thank you for having us here. I know you had to take time out of your day to do this, but I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Fairport, nothing is greater than Fairport. Living is sweeter in Fairport. That's where I want to call home, 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 home. Fairport, the grass has grown greener in Fairport. We're happy to see you in Fairport. Let's take a look around.
Weather is next. Your current conditions. Today's outlook. Tonight's forecast. The 7-day forecast.
Se baila, cha cha cha, no te vuelvas loco, tómate tu tiempo, que poquito a poco vas aprendiendo cómo se baila, cha cha cha.
Oye su ritmo cadencioso, ese ritmo que invita a bailar. Oye que suave, que sabroso. Es por eso que todos prefieren
cha cha cha. No te vuelvas loco, tómate tu tiempo, que poquito a poco vas aprendiendo cómo se baila, cha cha cha. No te vuelvas loco, tómate tu tiempo, que poquito a poco vas aprendiendo cómo se baila, cha cha cha.
No es una ciencia ni un problema, con un solo esfuercito nomás. Si tienes buena compañera, tú verás que sabroso se baila,
cha cha cha.
No te vuelvas loco. Tómate tu tiempo. Que poquito a poco vas aprendiendo cómo se baila, cha cha cha. No te vuelvas loco. Tómate tu tiempo. Que poquito a poco vas aprendiendo cómo se baila, cha cha cha. 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 Cómo se baila, cha cha cha.
Good evening. I'm John L. Ferry, Mayor of the Town Village of East Rochester, and I'm back to update each of you on this current situation facing all of us, COVID-19. Through these videos and our website, I want to continue to provide residents and business owners with updates on what East Rochester is doing to assist during this time. The New York State deadline for social distancing has been extended by Governor Cuomo until April 15th, and the federal guidelines have been extended by President Trump until April 30th. This means we have a way to go. I would like to remind all of you that social distancing is critical to the success of slowing and controlling this COVID-19 virus. Please keep your children off the playground equipment and away from gathering in our parks. The public restrooms at Edmund Lyon and Ayer Park are officially closed to protect the community and our Town Village employees. The rims and nets on all basketball courts have been removed. We have not officially closed the parks to allow those who wish to walk, exercise, and walk your dogs the opportunity to do so. We realize that to enforce such a measure would be unrealistic. Our parks are not fenced or gated. Enforcement
to What's Cooking. Today we have a very, I'm sure many of you viewers are wondering, I wonder if that's who I think it is. Well, it is. This is Dr. Mitchell Ehrenberg, and he is going to do something very special for us today. But before you do that, Dr. Ehrenberg, can I still call you Mitch?
Me Mitch.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, what you're doing other than baking, and how you came into the baking business?
Well, thanks for inviting me.
I know.
Mel's been trying to get me on the show for, well, as long as I've known about the show.
Right. I worked for this gentleman for 2 years. Actually, I retired from his practice, so we know each other.
You retired to your career in TV.
Right, to television. So, Mitch, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as Mel said, I'm a doctor, and I've been practicing in Penfield here for 10 years, and today we're going to be baking challah, which is a traditional Jewish bread that we make on the Sabbath. Today happens to be the Sabbath, so it's a perfect day to make it.
Wonderful.
And love to get started.
Okay, my kitchen is yours. Go to it.
All right. Well, I'm going to need some help from the audience, and I was going to ask my son Josh to come up and give me a hand for the first part.
Very good. It's going to be a family
event.
Okay, Josh,
right.
why don't you just say hi to the cameraman? Say hi. Very good.
All right. Well, challah is like a brioche bread. It's a bread that has a lot of eggs and oil in it. Doesn't have any butter. That's because usually we eat it with the Sabbath meal, which has meat in it. In the Jewish tradition, we don't mix meat and milk. So we're going to keep milk out of it. Josh, I'm going to need you to crack 3 eggs into this bowl. I'm making a half recipe.
Do you want me to remove that for him, or can you just do it?
I think you can do it, right?
I have to find the other end of this plug, though.
Okay. I'm making a half recipe today. I was supposed to bring my big mixer, but I forgot it. So we have this one, which is pretty big. This will hold, Mel, you said this will hold 7 cups.
Right, sir. Now we have a little technical problem here that I think my husband can help me with.
That's good.
George, I have a 3-prong plug here and a 2-prong, so I will need something. Okay. While he cracks those eggs, we will finish that. Okay.
All right, that's 2 and 1 more. So usually the recipe calls for 6 eggs to start. The way I do it, everybody does differently. The recipe book says to keep some of these things separate. I mix all the wet ingredients first, throw in the yeast, the salt and sugar, and then I put the flour on top. And because I use a mixer with a dough hook, it all mixes up very nicely. Some people like to do it on the counter, and I've done that. It takes a lot more time, and I don't think I get as good results. Thank you, George.
I'm going to fix you right up.
Okay. Okay, Josh, next thing we're going to put in is the oil. Let's put in 1 cup of oil, and here we have a 1 cup measure. I think that is right up to the top should be 1 cup. All right.
How old are you, Josh?
I'm 10.
10.
No excuses now. Okay.
Did you ride your bike here today, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
How far did you come? How many miles, do you know?
Josh is a big biker. Josh, you want to tell him about our big trip last year?
Last year I biked to Albany.
Cameraman, right there.
Last year I biked to Albany.
We biked to
Albany.
To Albany. Josh,
That's
and
wonderful.
Josh's mom and I, and Josh's grandpa, biked from here to Albany along the canal path. We had a great time. Okay.
So you need the exercise after you eat this bread. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. This is not a healthy bread. It's healthy for the soul. It's not healthy for the body.
We'll buy that.
All right. Let's do half a cup of sugar. You know, let's just do it like. Don't worry about it sticking. It'll stick a little bit. That's all right. Just like that. Get a little spilling.
It's okay because we have somebody that just comes in and cleans up, so you don't have to worry about messes.
That's okay. I have that in my house, and she's sitting in the audience.
Oh, wonderful. We have Mrs. Ehrenberg out there.
Okay. You want to...
Here we go.
Some towel for you to wipe up. And so that's the sugar. Now we're going to use almost a tablespoon of salt. Not quite a tablespoon. It's supposed to be 3/4 for the half recipe. A tablespoon of salt. Now I got it right.
That's
which
perfect.
was sugar and which was salt.
Yes, you got it right.
In my bags, and I never mess up.
Got it right.
Okay. You're probably wondering why I got into baking this.
Yes.
Okay, now make it 1 tablespoon of yeast. Well, I've always liked baking breads, but I was never good at it in the beginning. I used to experiment with making breads in our old house, and they always came out flat, and that's where I think matzah came from, because
unsuccessful breads.
Unsuccessful breads, you know, people who really didn't know what they were doing. After a while, I did figure it out, and then I have a friend who I jog with, my friend Jeff, who this is totally unrelated to bread, you'll see, but he brought a pair of sneakers that he didn't like, so he gave them to me. So in exchange, I said, okay, I'll bake challahs for you every week until I pay it off. And so I got very good at it. It took me a year to pay off the sneakers. And so that's how I got good at baking challah.
I've always had problems with the rising of the dough. But do you do anything special to make it rise other than putting it in a warm place?
No, really, just, you know, I don't proof my yeast. This is, I use the same yeast probably over the whole year. It takes me a year to go through a container of about this big. And I never found that I really needed to proof it. I've never had a yeast that failed. I never use those little envelopes. Those little envelopes cost like 10 times what a container will cost. So if you bake bread, and you bake it on a regular basis, don't waste your money on the little envelopes. The Fleischmann people are going to be suing me. Okay.
I think you have to proof it when you just don't bake a lot. You know, if you're going to have it on the shelf for 2 or 3 years, then I would suggest you proof it.
I think every year you have to get rid of your yeast. Okay, so what do we have in there now? We have oil, we have eggs, we have sugar, salt, and yeast. We need water. We need 3 cups of water. Why don't you can use this because that has...
Oh, I'll get them.
You have a bigger measuring bowl? Mm-hmm. So we're going to put in 3 cups of water, and that'll be all the liquid ingredients.
It'll be easier if you have smaller ones to do it in.
Oh, we're doing half. I keep on forgetting. We're doing half.
You're doing
half. So we'll go to 1 1/2. Okay. A little more. Okay. Yeah, we'll put that in.
All right.
Okay, terrific. And the reason I say that we do use a whole recipe calls for a whole bag of flour. There is a Jewish tradition of when you're baking challah to use a whole, they didn't have a whole bag back in the old days, but they would make a large batch, which would make 3 or 4 breads, and they would pinch a piece off and burn it over a fire or on the stove, which was reminiscent of the days of the old temple in Jerusalem, where one portion of your best dough was given to the priest at the temple and burnt as a burnt offering.
Wow, that's interesting.
So they still do that today. And we're not going to do it today because we're not doing the whole recipe.
Now, I want to ask you what kind of flour that is.
I chose bread flour for today. Bread flour is a little higher in gluten, and so it gives a better rise, gives a better texture to the bread. I don't always use it. If I have regular all-purpose flour, I'll use that too. I find if you just beat it a little longer, you'll develop the gluten just fine with regular flour. So let's start this. Oh, do we have another?
Yes, I do.
One more of those?
Yes, I do.
And Josh, I'm going to want you to put in 3, and then we'll turn it on. Then you get to give your coat to your brother. We'll just stay on the stage. Okay, so put in 3 cups of flour. Right there. It doesn't have to be exact. You know, bread is not exact. Bread is not like cake. Bread, you can add a little more salt. You can add a little too much sugar, a little too little. It changes the taste a little bit, but it doesn't change the overall product. The main ingredients that determine the quality of the finished product is the flour, making sure it's good, has enough gluten in it, and that the gluten is well developed, and the yeast, that it rises in water. I mean, bread really is just flour, yeast, and water. That's French bread. And we're just modifying it a little bit. So 3 cups is about half of the flour that you have to add. And with that, we'll beat it up and get it going well, and that'll begin to develop the gluten, and then we'll add the rest of it.
Now, during Passover, do you make like 15 and 20 loaves and give them away, or do you
Passover special. Passover's the holiday where we don't make bread.
You don't make bread.
Yeah, there's nothing risen. That's the holiday where we just celebrate unleavened bread. We just do the unleavened stuff.
So today is, you mentioned it, today is what?
Thank you, Josh.
What holiday?
Josh.
So today
is Sabbath.
Today is Sabbath, okay.
And for Sabbath, we make bread.
You make bread. For your family and not your friends? But I do know.
We make for everybody. We make it for the office. Did I bring it into the office?
Yes, absolutely. I was beginning to gain weight, and that's why I really quit your practice, because you started bringing in that bread. Every Friday, we would get a wonderful loaf of bread, and it wasn't always the same. You're very versatile when it comes to bread.
Okay, let's see. But then it began to be the same. I began to just do this bread when I was paying off my sneaker debt. All right. As long as it's not going all over the place, we can get it going pretty fast.
I can cover it if you want to go fast with a towel.
Yeah, this is good. And this is my other son, Daniel, who's here for the next stage of the bread's making.
This is our first show where we're having the whole family, so we're very privileged today that it's a family project.
Okay. Let me do this part, Daniel. I'm going to have you do the... we're going to put it aside to proof, and then you're going to help me cut it and roll it out and break. Okay? You have to slow it down. I have been covered in flour.
That's okay. We don't mind.
Well, I don't want... That can happen at home, not on TV. Okay. I'll get that one incorporated. And so it's not yet coming together. You know it's ready when it pulls away from the side of the bowl and the bowl becomes clean. Then it's pretty much ready, and you can take it out and do what you need to with it. So it's beginning to come away a little bit, but there's a lot stuck to the sides of the bowl.
Mitch, have you ever done this with whole wheat bread at all?
It's very difficult to work only with whole wheat. If you do just whole wheat, it comes out really heavy. It doesn't really rise. Right. But I've used a lot of different flours. In fact, for a while we were staying away from wheat in our family for health reasons. And oops. Let's try that again. Let's see how it goes like that. Now it's locked.
Gee, I was hoping if you break this, you have to replace it, you know. I could go for a new machine.
I'll see what I could do. I've done that before. We had a KitchenAid just like this, and when I started making big batches of challah...
It doesn't take it.
That ended up on the curb.
2 or 3 weeks?
No, it's long. Okay, so it's not going to take much longer. You can see it's still sticky. Okay. I'm not giving it enough of a chance to knead just because of time constraints today. Usually I'd let it sit like this, in this level of stickiness, for about 5 or 10 minutes, getting kneaded. And that would give it the rise and the consistency that you need. Let's put one more in. Oops, see? I did it.
It's okay.
Didn't end up on my face. Now it's going all over the place.
This is what we do.
Okay, cover up all sorts of problems.
Now it can...
But the kids frequently help me at home. I made some preparations for today, and Daniel helped me
there you go.
Roll it out. And
don't worry about the mess. George does clean up.
Thank you, George. Now I know how you stay in shape. All right.
Well, this show is really a family show. George is part of it all the time, behind the scenes.
You can add other things to the dough. You mentioned other flours, so I made partial whole wheat. Sometimes just for flavor, I'll throw in some wheat germ or some raisins we can put in. You can put nuts in, I like, but the family doesn't like.
You ever make rye challah?
I never made a rye challah, but I've made rye breads. And so you can add any flour. And a lot of times I look in the cupboard and see what flowers I have around and what I can pass that the kids won't notice if I add it. And so I throw a little bit of that in to try to get rid of it. Right, we made a lot of spelt hollow, which was our alternative grain for a while. Still quite sticky.
Well, with bread, you have to have a lot of patience. You can't rush it.
And with a mixer that I don't know,
That you're not.
careful.
I know that you're not comfortable with.
See, this mixer, I remember this one from when I had it. It sticks to the dough hook.
It does.
Yeah.
The new ones don't?
Not the one that I've got.
Oh.
No, we have,
what do you have?
What's the name of the mixer? Oh, Bosch.
Oh.
It's a kitchen mixer. It's not a restaurant grade mixer.
Well, I'll have to invest in one of those because I don't like the fact that it does stick to that hook. But I've never had any other kind of mixer but the KitchenAid.
Well, this is the standard. I mean, everybody has a
Right, but it's not always
This is the
best.
heavy-duty one.
Right, but the dough sticks to the hook. I know when I make homemade pasta, I don't like that either. I want it to come away from the
You'll
hook.
like the Bosch.
Right.
Bosch works nicely. There's another one called Magic Mill that I haven't used that's supposed to be very
Magic
good.
Mill.
Yeah, another brand. Bosch, Magic Mill. Those are two good brands there. Maybe we should just take it off. And
Okay,
work on it
well,
on the counter.
as long as we're going to have to wait, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back, okay?
Okay, we're back and we cleaned up the counter a little bit. We took the dough out of the bowl because it was getting a little too sticky and was sticking to the dough hook. And Daniel's now kneading it to the right consistency. Usually I will knead it in the bowl for about 10 minutes. Now on the
Okay.
counter just to make sure we got the right consistency. What do you think, Daniel?
I think it's good.
Can I give it a try? Okay. It's a fairly soft dough. It's not that stiff. If you make pasta, you're used to making a very stiff dough.
Right.
And this is a lot softer. You don't want it to be so sticky that that it's sticking to the counter, or sticking to your hands, but you want to be able to roll it out real well. This dough feels good, even though I put in too much oil.
How can you tell that you put in too much oil?
Because I remember.
You remember?
You forgot to add
Is it because we've got a half a recipe?
Because I did a half recipe
Right,
and I
okay,
forgot
that
to-
happens. When you cut a
Yeah.
recipe down, that's apt to
Leela,
happen.
did you have a question?
Yeah, how do you know when you needed too much or...
I've never kneaded dough too much.
All right, the question was...
The question was, how do you know if you've kneaded the dough too much? Thank you. I don't think there is, unless you do it in an industrial big mixer, I've never kneaded dough too much. So you can only knead it too little.
There's an old Italian saying that when you're kneading, it improves your bus line.
Well,
just in case your daughter wants to know that. That is an old Italian saying.
Now we're ready to let it rise for the first rising.
Oil around it, don't you?
Why don't you put a little oil, just a little bit, into the bottom of the bowl there. That's good. And then we just put it in here and give it a turn this way to spread the oil around the bowl. We flip it over, and now it's well oiled, so it won't stick and it'll rise nicely. We cover it with a clean cloth. We put it into our great warm proofing closet.
And we have an assistant here that'll do
George is
it.
here to do that. Okay.
We have a nice
Now,
warm,
in the
cozy
interest
place.
of time, we have another piece of dough. All ready to
The
go.
oil is correct on this one.
Now this doesn't look terrifically risen, but it was last night. We punched it down last night and put it in the fridge so it'll be ready for today. So it's still kind of cool. And so this has risen once. It was punched down, and this is its state right now.
It's pretty hard.
That's because we had to put it in the refrigerator.
That's because it's been in the fridge.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So what we're going to do now, in order to make it into, you need that? There you go. In order to make it into the braided loaf, we're going to have to cut it up into little pieces.
4 pieces or 8 pieces?
This would make 8 pieces.
Which makes 2 hollets.
Good.
We're making a 4 braid. You can make 3 braided. Everyone knows how to do 3 braids. 4 braids a little trickier. 6 braids, I need the book when I do the 6 braids. And I've done that for our demonstration hollow. I'll show you after. I've done a 6 braid. And so I'm just cutting it into roughly even pieces. When I get really compulsive at home, I have a scale. And I'll just weigh the pieces to make sure I get them even. But it's really not necessary to make them perfectly even.
Should I start rolling these out?
I don't think we're there yet, are we? Okay. Now before you roll them out, I want to do something. Okay, so we have 8 pieces of dough. And we're going to roll them out into 8 strands, about 1.5 to 2 feet long. But in order to roll them out, the counter needs to be free of flour. You want the dough to stick to it a little bit, or else it's very hard to roll out. As soon as I take just a little bit of water, and then just go over it with just a tiny bit of water, just to make it a little bit sticky, so that it doesn't roll off. Otherwise, you'll be pushing and it won't.
The wet towel.
There we go. We'll do this part for you. Okay, Daniel. Would you like to do some, or are you?
I'm going to watch.
You get to watch the whole time.
Absolutely.
You've got so many. In the past,
you have so many assistants here. I don't think you need another one, but
this part again.
I'd be interested in seeing how the 6 braids go together. 6, 8.
You're going to make a 6 braid?
No.
We're making 2 loaves here.
Okay.
So first, what I do is I'll just squeeze it out into a log like this. And then, pushing from the center out, I'll roll it out. Like so.
Oh, wow. How nice and even. Wow.
Well, this dough came out good.
It is.
Sometimes the
Wonderful.
dough doesn't have you'll pull it and it'll break, and I hate when that happens, but this dough, it feels good.
It's wonderful.
Okay? So that's one strand.
They don't all have to be exactly the same, do they?
No.
The question was, do they all have to be exactly the same, Mitch?
They don't have to be exactly the same. They have to be the same length, or at least close to the same length. Or else you end. You'll see when I braid it together that they might not end at the same exact point. And then I just tuck it under. It'll.
But you always tuck it under anyway.
I always tuck it under. Okay. So, this part takes the most muscle I found. Proves the bust line.
What time do you get up in the morning when? You're not going to forget that now. What time do you get up in the morning when you're baking for us that are working over at Linden Medical?
I do it at night. I do it when I come home at night, and I'll make it and I'll let it rise, and then I'll come down and let's see. If I come home and I get it right up, get the dough right up, it takes about a half hour to make the dough. Let it rise for an hour and a half or so, and then I can braid it and put it in the fridge. And most of you know that I get up real early.
Well, most bakers do get up real early.
And so I get up at about 5, and then I can turn the oven on, and I can bake it from about 6 to 7.
Wow.
But usually what happens is I'll get up, and it won't have risen enough, and I'll take it out to rise some more, because I will have had it in the fridge overnight.
Right.
Shaped and everything.
Right. Oh, wow.
And
but don't you usually let it rise in the oven for like a really little while?
That's a good question.
It will rise in the oven. After you shape it and it rises uncooked, it'll rise, about 25-30% more in the oven. Get a little bigger.
No, I mean because usually you turn it on the oven for like 5 minutes and then turn it off.
Yeah, I'll do that sometimes in order to make the. If it's winter and you're making bread, and it's only 60 degrees in the house, it won't rise very fast. So, in order to make it rise a little faster, you can just turn your oven on to 100 and let it heat up to 75, 80, 90 degrees, and then turn it off and put it in there. And it'll hold its temperature for a while, and the bread will rise a lot faster.
I've tried that, and I managed to get a crust on top.
You have to turn the oven off, I think.
You have to turn it off.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know I've had problems with bread.
I think I've done that too. I had the
why
plastic melt right to the dough. Yeah, I've done that. But usually what happens is it won't have risen enough, and then I'll, 8 o'clock will roll around, and I'll have to start in office hours.
You start panicking, right?
Well, no, I call Ruth, and I say, there's a bread in the oven. Please bring it to the office. And she will. Usually manage to get half a loaf, not a whole when that happens. All right. So we got 4 here. Let's see, I'm gonna roll this one out just a little longer. Why don't you keep on working on the other 4, Daniel?
But I thought I was going to braid it.
You are. You're gonna braid it too.
Now, does your staff really wait until lunchtime to get into that bread?
No, they don't have to.
Oh, what you don't know.
They're gonna watch this and
know.
what they're gonna say.
Never waited till lunchtime.
They never wait until lunchtime. They're gonna say, he hasn't brought me a bread in a while. Why is he doing this on the show? Not bringing it into the office? Because it has been a little while since I baked bread for the staff. And they did like
I thought
it.
you were talking about our family.
No, I was talking about the office staff.
My other family.
The other family.
Okay, Daniel, why don't we put those aside just because we have 4, and I think we can show them how the braid is done. Now we're doing a 4 braid. Now let's bring it out here.
First, you have to join one of the ends.
Yeah, we're doing it. Let's make sure the people on the camera see. So let's do it this way. Okay. So it's a 4 braid is a weave. It's basically you start at the far end and you go over, under, over, and you pull that across. Let's just do it. Yeah. And then you lay it next to it just like that. Then you take the next one. You go over, under, over, and you continue that until it ends. And
you make it look so easy, but it's just a matter of experience, right?
Yeah. It is. It's a matter of experience, and the 4 braid I can do with my eyes closed.
You can whip it up,
now.
right.
The 3 braid I think anybody could do because that's pretty simple, and the 4 braid I think for its simplicity comes out looking very nice.
It does. Wow. Look at that. Even a child can do it, right? Yeah, a young man.
When you get to the end, you pinch it together. I'll let you do it, Daniel.
And then you tuck the ends.
Yeah, you give a pretty generous tuck. Let me show them. And you're gonna see it'll bulge a little at the ends like that. That's him. Watch your hand. But that's okay because when it rises, most of the rising comes towards the middle, so it makes it even when it looks like that. Okay. Why don't you grab a pan from underneath? Okay.
Parchment paper.
This pan is a non-stick coating. It doesn't need any treatment. It goes on here, and then we put our towel over it, and that goes back to the proofing closet. Why don't you bring it out? And I think it is now Leela's turn to come on out, so we'll clean up a little bit. And we're back again, and I've changed things around a little. This is my daughter Leela, and she's going to be helping me with the final stages. Now, prepared the dough. It has risen, and then we shaped the dough and rolled it out and then made it into the braids. And this is our current final product. And this one, as opposed to the one that we put into the roof months ago, is a 6 braid. It looks a little different, and when you use more braids, it'll give more of a roundness. It'll round out a little more than the 4 braid, and a 3 braid comes out very much stick, like a French bread. So, okay, now what we're going to do now, Leela knows this routine.
Are there any braids more than, can you use any more than 6?
Daniel asked if I could use any more than 6 braids, and I don't know. I don't know if you can braid it 12. There's a tradition of using the 6 braids, a Jewish tradition of making 2 loaves, each with 6 braids, and they're supposed to represent the 12 tribes, the 12 tribes that left Egypt and went to Israel.
Okay.
And we use 2 loaves. Why don't you put a little bit of water in there? Just a little. It doesn't have to be ice water, it's just what's here. And beat it up a little more. And 2 loaves are customary for the Sabbath because when the Israelites were wandering around the desert with nothing to eat, God provided manna for them. And on the Sabbath, He provided a double portion. Okay, so the 2 loaves represent the double portion of manna.
Thank you for that history. It's wonderful.
All right.
This is an egg wash. What is manna?
What is manna? Okay, now Josh asked, my son Josh asked, what is manna? But I bet, Josh, you can answer that better than I can.
But he doesn't have a mic attached to him.
When the Jews were wandering on the desert after they left Egypt, they had, there was not much food. They were in a desert. And God provided food for them in the form of manna, which was some kind of poppy seed mixture. I'm not sure what it was. No one really knows what it was. It doesn't sound terribly appetizing, but they made the best of it for 40 years.
Dandelions.
Dandelions or poppy seeds, or in fact, we do use poppy seeds. Hey, you have to be on this side of the dough.
Yeah.
Let's just turn it around to get the other side. There we go. We do use poppy seeds, and you'll see in a second, which is another reminiscence of what we did in the desert. Okay, so the dough is, the loaf is painted with the egg wash, and that'll give it a nice shine. And then we have the poppy seeds, which go over the top, just to season it. And we're pretty generous with our poppy seeds.
Oh.
I like a lot of poppy seeds. My wife likes just a few poppy seeds.
I don't like any.
Well, when it
Like
bakes, it's going to rise, so you're going to want
spread out a little
it's going to
bit.
spread out.
Sometimes I'll use other things. Sometimes I'll use sesame seeds. Sometimes I'll use cumin seeds. I love the taste of cumin seeds, but that's a different flavor.
Different flavor.
And that's the best.
And sometimes I use salt. Yeah, you just use crystal, like pretzel salt. That tastes really good too.
When you use a sesame seed, do you have to toast them before you?
No,
you don't
no.
have to toast them.
This is on the outside, so it'll get toasted. See, that's a Leela level of poppy
Leela.
seeds.
Okay.
Mitch level of poppy
So
seeds,
Mitch-
it'll be black, you know?
Okay.
And that's why I like it. All right, now, so we did the first rising. Now it's all ready for a second rising. No, I'm sorry. We did the second rising. This is ready to go into the oven. Okay.
Our magic oven we have here.
We have our magic oven. It has been preheated to 375 degrees, and oh, look, it's ready.
Yeah.
And this is our finished product. This is also a 6th braid challah, and we made this morning, so it should still be warm on the inside. It's just a couple of hours old.
It smells good.
All right.
So everybody out there,
Good
they're
stuff.
smacking their lips. They just cannot wait for you to cut that.
All right. Now, Leela, you can do this as long as you don't cut your fingers on national television.
On local television.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Josh reminded me of something.
Stop cutting. We're doing the prayer. Oh, we are?
Josh reminded me of something.
Okay.
Whenever we eat bread, and especially challah, we do say a blessing before we eat it. So Daniel and Josh, we're going to come up one more time. Okay, guys. Oh, wait, why don't you
Face the camera.
Okay.
Motzi lechem in haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is humbly said.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Wonderful. Beautiful voices.
All right. Now, why don't you guys go sit down, because everyone's going to come up now and take a piece of bread.
Now there is butter there and there's margarine, but
How doesn't mean butter?
it doesn't. I'm glad to hear you say that because I very seldom put butter on my bread. I like it just the way it is. But, oh, that looks so good.
Yeah, I think it came out very nice, and
Really good.
we would eat this with our Sabbath meal on Friday night or on Saturday. We eat it any time, but we might make it into French toast or toast it and just put some butter on it. Or
It's getting to the end of that now.
yeah, that looks pretty good.
Wanted to cut herself.
Yeah, no cutting yourself.
Okay.
All right.
So you want to invite your viewers up
Please,
to...
would people like to come up and have a piece of bread? Hey, Lily, you want to serve it?
We have some... Come on.
Everybody's
You
got
do
to
have
come
some
up.
friends up there. Just go on. Come right on
Come on
around.
through.
Come right around. Very good. Oh, this is wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That was a difficult thing to do, to have to bring things partly risen.
It wasn't.
You know,
It wasn't as hard as I
but-
thought it would be to make all the stages of preparation. Because all I needed to do was make one batch last night and one batch right here in front of you. And
Thank you.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. Certainly. We don't have any more takers, huh?
I already gave him. Oh.
I need this. Thank you.
all right.
Cameraman have any?
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, great.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. L'chaim. That's right.
Okay, so we're going to close, and I'll close with both of you. I want to thank you so much for giving us such an extraordinary program here today, and we've learned an awful lot about the Jewish tradition. So all of my Italian friends would say, hey, all you cook is Italian, so very happy to have you. And we're going to have you again, right?
I'd love to come back.
And the children will probably like to come back again, so we'll invite you. And I'd like to thank you and what you get on this program for coming and appearing. We don't pay you, but you get a hug and a kiss from me, okay? Thank you
Thanks
very
so much. It's
Mitch.
great working with Mel
Thank you,
again.
sweetheart.
And thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you for watching Channel 12.
For a copy of today's recipe, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to What's Cooking in care of Mel Badalini, 610 South Washington Street, East Rochester, New York, 14445.
Thank you very much, Washington and Lee Swing. We'd like to do an old classic written by Nick LaRocca, the trumpet player for the first great white jazz band back in the 20s, because all this music started with the blacks down in New Orleans, and this was the first band of competent white musicians. They call themselves the original Dixieland Jazz Band, and here's a song he wrote, Fidgety Feet.
Weather is next. Your current conditions. Today's outlook. Tonight's forecast. The 7-day forecast.
Good evening. I'm John L. Ferry, Mayor of the Town Village of East Rochester, and I'm back to update each of you on this current situation facing all of us, COVID-19. Through these videos and our website, I want to continue to provide residents and business owners with updates on what East Rochester is doing to assist during this time. The New York State deadline for social distancing has been extended by Governor Cuomo until April 15th, and the federal guidelines have been extended by President Trump until April 30th. This means we have a way to go. I would like to remind all of you that social distancing is critical to the success of slowing and controlling this COVID-19 virus. Please keep your children off the playground equipment and away from gathering in our parks. The public restrooms at Edmund Lyon and Ayer Park are officially closed to protect the community and our town village employees. The rims and nets on all basketball courts have been removed. We have not officially closed the parks to allow those who wish to walk, exercise, and walk your dogs the opportunity to do so. We realize that to enforce such a measure would be unrealistic. Our parks are not fenced or gated. Enforcement would be nearly impossible, and our police department needs to be ready to respond to true emergencies. I'm asking parents of our youth to please help us enforce this. As all New York State residents, we are required to take a 100% pause. And what does this mean for each of you? Only those essential employees that need to be at work or out in the community can, and all others need to stay home. This is to flatten the curve and slow the spread of this virus. We want to protect our residents and our staff, and we have taken measures to do so. Please be reminded that the April 2020 bulk week scheduled for April 13th to 17th has been canceled. Also, spring parking restrictions that normally end on April 15th have been lifted as of today. These changes to continue to be out of an abundance of caution for our families, businesses, and visitors. Please restrict your travel for needs of food, gas, and medicine, and use social distancing whenever possible. Keep children occupied and out of public places without adult supervision. We are evaluating the situation on a day-to-day basis, and plans are subject to change at a moment's notice. Please visit www.eastrochester.org and watch the local news for additional updates as they become available. Social media sites such as ER Communicates are not official websites and will not be updated when information changes. We're asking all of you to please stay home, stop the spread, and save lives. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. It is summer. Name of our band, Beale Street. We got to learn the tune someday. But here's one. I'm sure you'll all recognize Basin Street.
Today is Thursday, March 12th, 2020. It's 7 p.m., and I'm calling the March monthly Village Board meeting to order. We'd like to begin with a moment of silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight I ask the Deputy Mayor to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. You're very welcome. Thank you. We are going to start this month's meeting by opening a public hearing to present our 2020-2021 budget.
Mr.
And,
Mayor,
yes.
you're going to approve the agenda first, please?
I'm sorry about that. But before we do that, we are going to approve the agenda. So if I could get a motion and a second to approve the agenda, then we can move ahead to the hearing.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Florak.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Swagler to approve the agenda. Is there anything under question? If not, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much for keeping me on task. And now we are going to open the public hearing for the 2020-2021 budget presentation, which will remain open until our next meeting, which is April 16th. So we'll present the budget, give residents a month to either ask questions or get more information, and then we will act on this and close the hearing on April 16th. So I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
By Trustee Connors.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Rashkator to open the public hearing. So the hearing is now, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, the hearing is now open, and we are going to move out of the way of the screen here so Nick can focus on it. And we're going to turn it over to Brian Luke, our Director of Finance, to present the 2020-2021 budget. So Brian, have at it.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Board. Tonight I am presenting the proposed village budget for the 2021 fiscal year, which begins on June 1st. This presentation focuses on the following areas. We have the summary of budget by funds, which gives a broad view by each fund of the proposed 2021 budget relative to appropriations, revenues, appropriated fund balance, tax levy, and tax rate. Next, we have the budget comparison, comparing the current budget with the proposed budget. Then we have the net cost summary. That's going to show us the net cost of each department or area of expense, as well as what portion of the tax rate is used to fund that department or area of expense. Finally, we have the net cost detail, which will summarize the two largest departments in detail. So let's start with the summary of budget by funds. The top line shows appropriations, which is the amount that we have budgeted to spend in this proposed budget, which is $9,882,820, or the sum of, from left to right, the general fund, the town fund, and the library fund. And then the next three lines are sources of revenue that we use to offset the appropriations. The first being estimated revenues other than real estate taxes, which is $4,054,669. This is made up of things like county sales tax, refuse fees, pilot payments, franchise fees, fire protection districts, state aid, park rentals, court fees, out-of-district sewer fees, and interfund transfers. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Next is our appropriated fund balance. The fund balance is what the village has left over at the end of the fiscal year, and the appropriated fund balance is the portion of the fund balance that is used to help fund the budget. So we are proposing to use $935,675 of fund balance to fund this budget. Next is total revenues, which is the sum of the estimated revenues and the appropriated fund balance. Finally, we have the tax levy, which is used really to kind of balance the budget. We're raising $4,892,476. That's our tax levy. That's based on an assessed valuation of $321,450,454, and that means that we have a tax rate of 1522, which is the same tax rate as the current budget that we have adopted. This budget is New York State tax cap compliant, meaning it's under the guidelines set by New York State. It's under that amount. The projected fund balance in the general fund at the end of May for this budget period would be $1,298,683. The tax rate increase, as I said, is 0. The tax levy increase is $48,404. And the reason that the levy goes up is because the assessed valuation actually went up, which we'll get to later. And then a home valued at $108,404, which is the average value of a single-family home in the village, will pay a total of $1,912 per year. This includes a total refuse fee of $262.50, which is the refuse for a single-family home. And the change in that annual cost compared to our current budget is again $0. Next, we look at the two budgets side by side, with the 2021 budget being our proposed budget. The appropriations show an increase of $297,464, or 3%. The estimated revenues have an increase of $235,905, or 6%. The appropriated fund balance is up $13,155, or 1%. Total revenues are up $249,060, or 5%. The tax rate is steady at 1522. The assessed valuation is up $3,182,090, or 1%, and the tax levy is up $48,404, or 1%. Next, I'm going to kind of go into some of the line items to show differences between our current budget and our proposed budget. This proposed budget, we'll start with sanitary sewers. This proposed budget includes money for a Linden Avenue lift pump replacement and a West Chestnut Street sewer reline. Next, we have our street maintenance. Money is included in this budget for increased road work throughout the village. Then we have our debt service. We are proposing a bond will be issued for a new town village fueling station, as well as heavy equipment needs at the DPW. Next, we have sidewalks. Money is included in this budget for a Main Street sidewalk project. And finally, the safety inspection personnel. This is our building and code enforcement department, and we now have 2 full-time positions, building inspector and assistant building inspector. Then we have some decreases when compared to the current budget, which would be our Ontario Street Bridge project, which is wrapping up, so we won't have to fund that anymore, so that's a decrease. And then our health insurance has a decrease, mostly because we're part of the FLIMHIT consortium, and they've just done a really good job controlling the cost of health care. And then on the revenue side, we have 2 increases: Monroe County sales tax, because sales tax is on an upward trend, and then interest earnings. We're recognizing higher interest rates because we joined the New York Class investment pool. Next, we'll look at the net cost summary, and there's a lot of slides here, but I'll just summarize, and then we'll eventually get to the totals. But these slides show what portion of the tax dollar is used to fund each department, expense, or service. And they also show the taxpayer's monthly and annual cost of funding that particular department, expense, or service. So column 1 is all the expenditures that are included in our budget. Column 2 is the percent of the total budget that is taken up by that particular area. Tax dollar portion, that's the amount out of the total tax rate that goes towards that department. Then you have the net cost, and then the monthly cost and the annual cost for a taxpayer. So the rest of this information, like I said, there's a lot of it, but if there's any questions, I'll take those at the end of the presentation. And then this is the totals page, which shows 100% of the total budget, 1522 tax rate. Net cost is $7,990,852. Monthly and annual cost for a taxpayer. And then if you add your refuse for a single family home, the monthly cost of $21 and annual cost of $262.50, you get your total village tax bill of $159 a month, or $1,912 a year. And the last two slides to wrap up, we'll look at the two largest departments just to give people an idea of how we put this net cost summary together. And this is the DPW. The revenue offset is at the top, and this is mostly the majority of this revenue is from the collection of refuse. And then you see all the expenses for this particular department, the salaries, the equipment accounts, the contractual accounts, any debt service associated with this department, New York State retirement costs, FICA, payroll expense, and health insurance. And then at the bottom you see the total of the total budget is 30.83%, $4.69 out of the tax rate. $2,463,254 is the net cost. The monthly cost is $42, and the annual cost is about $508. And lastly, we have the police department, the same analysis with the revenue offset of $49,750 for police grants like Stop DWI and reimbursement for the SRO officer, school resource officer, and other fees collected like fingerprints and accident reports. And then you see the expenses for this department, which is the salaries, the equipment accounts, the contractual accounts, the New York State retirement, the FICA, and the health insurance. And then all the totals at the bottom there. So that concludes our budget presentation. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have now or during normal business hours at the clerk's office, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And budget packets are available at the clerk's office or online at eastrochester.org. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we had to get reset, so thank you everyone for the pause there. But budget's been presented. Like I said, that will remain open until April 16th. If any residents would like to make an appointment, come into village office, get a copy. You can see Brian Luke, call Karen Smith, or Marty Ambrose, and they can take care of you here at the village office. Any comments from any of the board that Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
So first of all, I just want to say that I've been doing this now for 17 years. It doesn't seem possible, but it is 17 years. And I want to compliment Mayor, my fellow board members, especially Brian, Luke, and Karen Smith, Marty, everybody that was involved with this budget. There was only one other time in the 17 years, and I have served with 4 different mayors. There's only one other time that we kept the tax rate flat. That was in the early 2000s. And since then, we have gradually had to raise the tax rate because budgets always seem to go up. Spending increases year to year. But last year, we were able to cut the tax rate by, I believe, 31 cents per thousand. And this year, keeping that rate flat, this is not an easy task, putting budgets together. But this was a terrific job by all involved, and Mayor, I just want to compliment everyone. These numbers are terrific, and the village board is working hard for the community. So I want to say thank you, too, as a taxpayer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If there's no other comment, we will move on. Okay? Okay. We are going to approve the minutes. We have here the village board meeting from February 13th, 2020. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Trustee Swagler.
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Florak to adopt the village board meeting from February 13th. Anything under question? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Carried. To approve the minutes for the village board budget work session from February 20th. Need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Trustee Rashkator,
Second.
second by Trustee Connors. Anything under question on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, carried. We have zoning board meeting from February 11th, 2020, and that was the first meeting of the new zoning board, just for board reference. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Florak,
Second.
second by Trustee Swagler. Anything under question? If not, in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Department reports we're going to do in one motion here. We have the building department, fire department, library, police department, and local history reports for February 2020. Need a motion to accept those.
So moved.
By Trustee Connors.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Rashkator. Anything under question? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. We're going to move on to new business. And the first order under new business is to approve the claims for the month. Need a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Swagler,
Second.
Deputy Mayor Florak. Anything under question from the board on the claims for the month? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, claims are approved. The next one here we are going to do in one motion. We have approve appointments to the East Rochester Housing Authority. We have Mike Flanagan for a 3-year term, Scott Grant for a 5-year term, and Gina Rinaldo for a 5-year term. Any motion that I can explain?
So moved.
Trustee Rashkator,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Connors. Under question or under comment, we have 2 openings on the Housing Authority that are planned, and we had a member resign. So we have the resignation of 1 member and 2 openings. Gina Rinaldo will be returning for a second 5-year term. Both Scott Grant and Mike Flanagan are going to be new to the Housing Authority, and Mike is going to take the balance of the term to be up in 2023. So that's how we're doing this, just so everyone knows. But 3 new members. It's a 5-person board. We're putting 3 new members on the Housing Authority board. Anything under question? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Number 3 is to authorize the issuance of up to $400,000 in serial bonds to finance the acquisition of 4 pieces of maintenance equipment. And this is actually 4 pieces of maintenance equipment for the DPW. Need a motion to do so.
So moved.
By Deputy Mayor Florak,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Swagler. Is there anything under question or anything under comment? I know we've talked about this during the whole budget presentation, but
The one thing is, in the last several years, we would get a $400,000 band, whatever, and we've been really pushing it off. We haven't done it in about, is this our at least second, maybe third year? So we really stretched the length of the equipment to try to hold costs down, but now it's time, and we really need to do this.
Yep.
But we have been diligent on, we push this equipment to its end of its useful life and then some.
Sure, absolutely. Anything else under comment or question? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, passed. We have the appointment of Eric Sikora of 405 Garfield Street to the East Rochester Fire Department. We need a motion to do.
So moved.
Trustee Connors,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Rashkator. Anything under question? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Welcome aboard, Eric, and thank you for your volunteer. Thank you for volunteering to serve. Appreciate that. Number 5 under new business is a normal course of action for us for a piece of equipment that we would like to dispose of. And this disposition could be done immediately or could be done in the future as replacement pieces come about. But we need to declare surplus the following items: a 2004 American bus, a 2006 Sterling dump, a 2000 Ford utility, a 2014 Ford Suburban, and a 1997 Simon duplex. And those are 5 pieces of equipment which we are going to declare surplus to allow the disposal or sale of. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
By Trustee Swagler.
Second.
By Deputy Mayor Florak. Anything here under discussion or question on the disposal of these surplus items? Okay. If nothing under question, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to old business, and this is going back a few months ago now, but we need to award a contract to Wayside Contractors, Wayside Garden Center, for the Urban Forestry Grant bid of $12,340. And we get a motion in a second, and I'll have the administrator explain it.
So moved.
By Trustee Rashkator,
Second.
by Trustee Connors. So we have a motion and a second. And Marty, if you would please.
Thank you, Mayor. As the board knows, we received an urban forestry grant for a little over $13,000, and then there's a match to that grant, which this board has budgeted for every year. And we did put out an RFP back in the fall. Unfortunately, we weren't able to receive any bids at that time, so we had to redo it. We redid it this spring and received 3 bids. They came back. The lowest responsible bidder is Wayside Contractors, Wayside Gardens, and we're going to approve a bid so that they can begin the work. Now, this is to rebuild the urban canopy in East Rochester, and so it's a project that you start in Main Street in the middle of the town village, and you build it out. And so residents will begin to see the work done this April, May, and it'll continue over the next few years as we rebuild that urban canopy. And I want to thank Trustees Rashkator and Connors for coming up with the planning list. I think we added some really significant trees in there that are going to make the downtown area look really special, different than what we've done in the past. And these will also be trees that I think will be hardy and last pretty long time. So I think we're in good shape. We just need to award the contract.
Great. Anything else under question? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Contract will be signed. Next, we're going to move on to trustee reports. And we're going to start with Trustee Swagler over here on
Okay.
my left.
I have a couple of things for us. From the school district, the musical The Wizard of Oz that was scheduled at the end of March is now postponed until May. You can check the website for details when that will be rescheduled. If anyone is interested in running for a seat on the Board of Education, candidate packets are available on their district website, or hard copies are available to be picked up at Kristen Adler's office. They are looking to fill 2 seats with 3-year terms, and all petitions must be back to Kristen Adler by April 20th. From the library. On Mondays, the Lego Club will be meeting, so come and join them. The library will be presenting the book called Hilda's Story on April 23rd. It's about Alzheimer's. There'll be discussion about the book and tips on how to care for loved ones with Alzheimer's. And on Tuesday, May 5th, there's a dried flower program from 6:30 to 8. If these events are to be canceled, it will be posted on the library Facebook page and the village website. Enter those. From the Community Resource Center. The box for the donations is finished. It's in the library. It was built by the Boy Scouts and painted by the Girl Scouts. We would like to thank them for all their hard work. The Boy Scouts will be doing Scouting for Food on Saturday, March 21st. Please put your donations on your door in a bag and they will pick them up. You may also drop off your donations at the library. From our seniors. Unfortunately, our senior center is closing tomorrow, Friday, March 13th, until further notice. And that's all I have.
Be more on that?
Yeah, we'll...
Yes, we'll elaborate on that some more.
We'll elaborate, sure. Deputy Mayor Florek.
Mayor, I have 2 reports this evening. First report is the February monthly report for the East Rochester Police Department. They responded to 1,232 calls, issued 105 traffic tickets, 12 aggravated unlicensed operations, 37 arrests, 92 parking tickets, 12 motor vehicle accidents, and 10 fire and EMS calls. The chief would like people to know the Gates to Recovery Drop-In Center, which provides addiction and family support services, will be in the Senior Center at the R Building on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. I don't know how that will play out now with the situation with what's going on with the coronavirus, but that's what it says here. Winter parking restrictions are still in effect for another month, so please do not park on the roadways from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And he would like to give a special thanks. This is pretty neat what I'm going to read right here. Special thanks to Todd Brady, who is a patron of the village, as he will occasionally email me that street lights are out. Mr. Brady also advised me that we can go on the website and report these outages, and it will get fixed within 2 days. We thank him for his extra effort. That's from our Chief of Police, Steve Clancy. Second report I have, Mayor, is the monthly report for the East Rochester Fire Department. With daylight savings upon us, please be reminded to check your smoke and CO detectors. This is a good time to change the batteries and check for expired devices. Detectors have a lifespan of about 2 to 5 years. Check manufacturer's specifications for when to replace older units. The fire department recently held our annual inspection dinner. This is when we recognize our members and spouses for volunteering their time for the safety of our community. Listed below are the members who were awarded for their outstanding efforts to the department and community. Special congratulations to our outgoing officers, Chief Neil Herkel, President Steve Williams, and Warden Chuck Young. Special recognition to past Chief Neil Herkel for 25 years of service. Congratulations, Neil. Top 5 members that responded to the most calls in 2019, respectively: past Chief Dan Jakuski, past Chief Matt Perrone, firefighter Dennis Leo, firefighter Mark Bach, and Deputy Chief Jim Diego. The fire department responded to 25 calls in the month of February, 2 of which were to our neighboring departments. Well, I want to comment on those top 5 members who responded to the most calls. There's some age there. And one of those guys is my brother-in-law, and the other guy, we went from kindergarten to 12th grade together, Mark Bach. So congratulations, guys. Keep up the good work. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Move over here to Trustee Connors, and what do you have for us tonight?
Just a quick from the DPW. There have been, obviously the weather's getting nice. They've been out, they've been sweeping the streets. They are really looking nice. It's just good to get all that winter crud out of the curbs and in the gutters, and it makes the streets look lovely. And they're just getting ready for spring and finishing up some winter projects. One thing is our foreman, Pete Calabrese, had a knee replacement, so he's out, and Justin Machete, one of our employees, is stepped up to help Bill with any paperwork and day-to-day operation. We hope Pete returns quickly, and he's getting better. I have talked to him, and he does feel better. So,
I think that Jared Waldo.
I'm sorry, Justin Machete. I'm sorry, Jared Waldo. I'm sorry, why did they say Justin Machete? Jared Waldo. Jeez, sorry, Jared.
It was on your mind. Maybe you had a dream about it.
Justin Machete, I'm sure, is doing a
I
good
know.
job too.
Sorry, Jared took over. Jay, you know. And the other thing I have here is from the local history department. They wrote 2 articles for publication in the Post newspaper. They are currently having problems with publishing them, unknown why. We are also posting them on our East Rochester Facebook page, and we have found this to be an excellent format to provide the public with both photos and text on village history. So check out the East Rochester Facebook page for information from the local history. I also prepared a historical display on the Piano Works for a concert, a jazz concert that was held in the atrium at the end of February at the Piano Works Mall, which I know our clerk Karen Smith went, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time, and the display was also top-notch. And then they're contacting a company in Buffalo about converting our old 35 millimeter microfilm rolls to a searchable PDF format. We have about 50 rolls and hope to do somewhere around 10 a year. So everything is evolving to being on the web, so you check out the history room on er.org, and you get to see some real good stuff, and there is some wonderful stuff in there. And the last thing I wanted to say is Marianne Bussey and Dave Johnson are 2 very, very devoted volunteers in the history room. I know Marianne's there every single day, and Dave is there quite often. So I just want to, as Deputy Mayor Florak said, the fire department has a wonderful volunteer group, and so does the local history office. And thank you for your efforts.
Yeah, we certainly thank them for that. Absolutely. Thanks. Trustee Roshkator, last but certainly not least.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 reports for you. First one's from the building department monthly report. There's 25 total inspections, 25 fire inspections, 30 complaint and violations, 2 court appearances, 7 permits issued, 2 zoning board actions, 10 responses for the dogs, and 6 other animal responses. Total revenue brought in was $575. There will be a rabies clinic will be held on May 11th, 2020. Is that in
At the lodge.
at the lodge?
At Iyer Park.
At the Iyer Park.
From 5 to 7 p.m.
From 5 to 7 p.m. on May 11th. Have your dogs,
And cats.
cats tested for rabies? Checked.
Yep.
The rabies
Rabies
vaccine.
vaccine, yep.
This report was submitted by Jim Herco.
Thank you.
The other report I have is the town clerk's report. There are 2 game licenses issued, 29 dog licenses issued, 1 marriage license, 3 duplicate marriages, with a total revenue of $380 with $296.16 returned to the general fund, prepared by Karen Smith. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Trustee Rescatar. And a duplicate marriage license is different than a duplicate marriage, which is illegal in the state of New York, just to clarify.
You said summarize, Mayor.
Just helping anybody out that got any ideas.
He just said, you said summarize.
Mayor, those were always your favorite, your father's favorite.
He's right.
Marriage licenses.
That's right. That's right. Thank you very much, trustees. And I do want to say it's a very hardworking group of people who it's my pleasure to serve with. So thank you very much to all of you. So, Mayor's report tonight is a little sporadic with times changing. So I'm going to start at the end and kind of work towards the top. But Trustee Swagler talked about the senior center. And we are, and I know this will be captured on video, and we are in the heart of a major virus outbreak, the coronavirus, which people today know about. People watching this 5 years from now might not even know what we're talking about, but God forbid it gets worse. It'd be really bad. So anyway, we're in a major outbreak here in the country on this coronavirus. And we're relying on the Monroe County Health Department and Dr. Mendoza to take the lead for the county as being our top doctor, if you will. Our village is taking protocols. Those protocols range from wiping down doorknobs, push bars, railings, and common areas every 2 hours of every day that the building's open, to purchasing hospital-grade disinfectants and cleaners and new microfiber towels, which do a better job cleaning, to ordering 6 hand sanitation systems that will give us dispensers on all 3 floors of the building at every spot where there's an elevator. Those are ordered and on back order, and really we're not sure when we're going to get them, but as soon as they're released, we will have them up and in the building. We're monitoring group sizes and keeping group sizes below 50 people, not more than 50 people, to gather at any time in any place. And then there's a whole list of safety measures that people can take for themselves. One of the groups that's the most sensitive to this is the elderly, the sick and the elderly, to actual death from this virus. And because of that, we had to make a hard decision today, and we decided to shut down the senior center tomorrow. And we're saying indefinitely, but for the future, the senior center is going to be shut down as a safety precaution to the elderly in the village, to not bring them down here and into this building in the public where they can contract sickness or virus, and God forbid the coronavirus. So we're taking steps. We're trying to be responsible. We're trying to be proactive and to not overreact and not underreact, but to react to the situation, and that's what we're trying to do. So that has come today. It's been a busy day. I have, in this part-time job of being the mayor, I have spent over 6 hours today on village work, and a lot of it to do with this coronavirus and trying to make the right decisions. And I thank staff. I thank the staff here. I thank Marty for helping me, assisting me on this. But that document went out tonight around 5 o'clock, and we're going to order that closed. The rest of the building will stay open for groups of less than 50. The office will stay open, which we consider an essential service, and we'll keep people posted on the library and other departments. Our emergency services will remain open. Fire department, police department, and the DPW will remain open, providing services to the residents for as long as we possibly can. And hopefully we can get this virus under control and resume our lives in a normal fashion here in the near future. So that's that. moving on, Trustee Connors talked about cleaning up the village, and thank you for saying something on that, because I know that the guys are spending a lot of time to make it look nice, so, and we appreciate that. The budget that we presented tonight, this budget will go into effect on June 1st, and like I said, will be adopted in April. I'm proud of the rate, to hold the rate at $1,520 to $1,000, and not to exceed the tax cap. I do thank all my board members for their hard work, and they have, from meeting with departments that they're responsible for, coming up with this fleet plan, and to reduce the fleet, to try to hold expenses down, and I thank all of you sincerely for that. We're controlling spending. We're looking at what is our essential services and what are non-essential services. And we're trying to justify the business that we do. I said when I got sworn in, and I've said every month since, we're gonna bring common sense back to government. If something makes sense, we're going to do it, and if something doesn't make sense, we're not going to do it. The plan is fluid, and we'll continue to modify it as we need to. So. We have some good news out of the school from this year, and I'd like to share this with the community. We had 4 Section 5 champions from winter sports that also, besides winning sectionals, went on to represent us at the state level. And those 4 students are Nathan Chambers for indoor track, Seamus Costello in wrestling, Michael Roshgator in wrestling, and TJ Swagler in skiing. And I'd like to congratulate all 4 of those boys on this great accomplishment, and 2 of their parents, which sit on this board here with me. To both of you, congratulations to your sons and your family, because it's a great accomplishment. So, nice job. And that's what I have tonight for the mayor's report, and I will rest.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'll turn it over to the village administrator.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Just a couple items to bring to your attention and to our residents. Some spring programs coming up. As was mentioned earlier, we hope that everything gets back to normal and that we can continue to do these things. So in preparation to let everyone know, the annual Clean Sweep program will be held on Saturday, May 16th. That is the week before the Memorial Day Parade, and then, of course, the parade is the next week on the 23rd. So those 2 events are on the calendar. They're also located on our website, and you can see all of our annual events. Also that weekend will be the spring garage sale that's held by the Community Resource Center. That will be the 15th, 16th, and 17th. So busy weekend throughout the community will allow people to put their signs up and sell all those things that they want to get rid of, and we'll get that to happen on one weekend, and we'll do some advertising as we've done in the past. We will get into our spring programs as soon as the plants open up and we can get going, finishing up the Forest Road project at Concrest. And as soon as we're done doing that, moving to the West Commercial Street project on the 100 and 200 blocks. So those are all things that are coming up. I would like to ask Mr. Perrone just to speak very briefly on 2 projects that we're working on the board's behalf, and that is the sewer study and the preparation for the tank replacement project.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Perrone.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Mayor. We are working on the sewer study as we speak. We're now at a point where we can, Marty, we're trying to do a public information meeting for the residents in that specific area. And for the residents, what we're looking at in the first phase is Elm Street from McKinley Street all the way to Washington Street, and then we're going to do a dog leg down to West Avenue, and the 100 and 200 block of West Avenue will be the first focused area for that sewer study, and we'll be applying for a grant. As Ted and Vince, I got to get their schedule so that we can go over this with us. Unfortunately, Peter is out right now, and he's been spearheading it from the village standpoint. But we've progressed with that particular project, and I think that project is going to have a positive conclusion for sure, as it relates for us to get a grant, successful grant application in, and hopefully funding for this upcoming next year. Great. The second thing, in the fueling station, that particular thing, I met with the Superintendent of Public Works today, Mr. Marr, and we're finally putting the program together for that fueling station. And there are a variety of things that we have to put together so that we can come back to you all to say what that cost implication is going to be. So that the residents know this fueling station is for the DPW, the police department, and the building department, and it is for all the fueling of all of those equipment. And we've had some difficulty. Some of the tanks that were buried have to be replaced, and we're going to go above ground. We actually are going to create a fueling station, and the fueling station will allow for a better location, a safer location from where it is right now. So that's the update. You'll hear more about that in the next couple of weeks, certainly. But we just had a meeting together today so that we can put all the components together. There's more to that component than what I thought originally. So we'll get back to you on that particular thing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just have one quick thing. With our closings, with this corona and whatnot, everything we're getting it on the website, correct? So if anyone has any questions, if the library closes, if the courts close for some reason, check ER.
Even in the statement we wrote today was to call village office, right? If you have any question, any doubt, just give a call to village office.
And just saying, because
No, you're
not
right.
everyone's going to
Yeah.
see that, so we
No,
have
you're
to,
right.
you know.
that. For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
DMV, do you want to mention that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is one more piece of the closures. Monroe County Clerk's Office contacted the village today to say that we will not have mobile DMV for the next 2 weeks and look for it to possibly resume after April 1st. So, again, pay attention to the website and the county's website, but mobile DMV will not be around for the next 2 weeks, and that's a motion by the county clerk to stop that.
But their permanent locations are.
Oh, yes,
still-
permanent locations are open.
Yes,
So you have
as
to go to
scheduled.
Henrietta or Rondequoit or Greece or
City, Rochester. Mhm.
But permanent locations will remain open. So. Okay, thank you for that, and it's good to mention, get it on camera.
Yeah.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Florek,
Second?
second by Trustee Swagler. And I'm going to adjourn the village portion of the meeting. And no, bang that gavel again, I'm going to call to order the town portion of the meeting. And we're going to start with approval of minutes from the town board meeting from February 13th, 2020. Need a motion to
So
accept.
moved.
From Councilman Connors,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Rashketor. Is there anything under question? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we're good to go on that. Second would be department reports, and it's the town clerk report, which we heard earlier from then trustee Rashketor, now Councilman Rashketor, and we need a motion
read
to
it
accept that report
So moved.
by Councilwoman Swagler,
Second.
by Councilman Florek. Is there anything under question? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, that passes. Under town business, I have nothing on the agenda, just don't know if we have anything under new business or old business of town function. It doesn't look like we do.
Mr. Supervisor, I do not have anything.
Thank you very much. You know, I've been waiting. This is 3 months. No one has called me supervisor yet. Thank you very much. For this 7 minutes of the night, I am the supervisor of the town of East Rochester, and it's my pleasure to serve in that role. So, thank you very much. If there is nothing else, I am going to look for a motion for adjournment, and we will adjourn the meeting. We have no business after, and we will be done.
So moved.
By Councilman Rashketor.
Second.
By Councilman Connors. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Nice job, everybody.
Thanks, Nick.
Nick, thank you. Thank you.
Good job, Nick.
Yes, you know I've had my share. Alex on the guitar. Every day.